as can be seen in one of my recent videos when I was riding this machine over to Ammanford a couple of days ago, I almost arrived there and lost me control to the throttle in the carburettor. It just all went slack, and I thought that the throttle cable had perhaps broken, but it turned out it hadn't. It had just escaped from the its end had escaped from the throttle slide, and the reason for that turned out to be, I didn't realise at the time. I fixed it while I was over at my parents' place visiting them, hooked the throttle cable back in and got going again, but it was in the back of my mind that it could happen any moment again, although it had never happened before. Once something like that happens, it's obviously, it plays on your mind a bit. And I was thinking about it, and I looked on Hitchcock's website, and they've got all the parts lists for the carburettors, and sure enough, after you've put the throttle cable into the one of the 2 series pre-monoblock carburetors, this is a 289, there's a little split pin that you're supposed to put in through a tiny hole to lock the throttle cable in so it can't come out through the slot, and I'd never put one in, so I've got one there now. And actually the one I've got there was just a little too large. It was the smallest I had. It wouldn't quite go through the holes, so I had to snip one leg of it off. I left the head of it intact, hopefully we can see that. Snipped one leg off just below the head, pushed one leg through, and I've doubled it back over itself, so that'll lock the throttle cable in place. And there you are. If I lift the spring, hopefully we can see the slot there where the cable just goes through. There is a small recess on the underside of the slide for the nipple on the end of the cable to engage, but it is very, very shallow, so I suppose it's quite feasible that the throttle cable can come out of there if you're unlucky, as it did to me. But I've got that there now, that split pin, or half a split pin, and that should lock it in place. But I completely overlooked that when I built this machine with my father probably 10 or 12 years ago, and although it hasn't been used much in that time, it's been used quite frequently in recent years, and we've had some off-road adventures and long distance, or fairly long distance rides on it. I think I did a 50-mile round trip on it once. That's long distance for me these days, unfortunately, but probably done, you know, a couple of 1,000 miles on it in total without that there. And the throttle cable could have let go at any moment. Luckily it did it just as I was arriving somewhere where I could get my hands on some tools to deal with it. But these old pre-monoblock carburetors are supposed to have a split pin in there after the throttle cable's been fitted, just to secure it in and make sure it can't escape. So and well, possibly easily overlooked. I certainly overlooked it anyway, and I'll have the peace of mind of knowing that that's probably not going to happen again now anyway. So I'm going to put it all back together and put the carburetor back on, and we'll be good to go and have more adventures again soon.